Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all being here tonight. I'm Deputy County Manager Ryan Taylor, and it's my pleasure to be here to honor those who give their time to serve across our county. Your spirit of service is truly commendable. Polk County is built on a spirit of service. Our volunteers are an essential part of how we deliver meaningful, people-focused services across our county. This past year alone, more than 1,000 volunteers, Polk County volunteers, contributed over 65,000 hours working in our parks, supporting public safety programs, and working in community outreach efforts. That equates to a service value of over $2.1 million. Thank you so much. Many of our programs, such as Volunteers in Service to the Elderly, Lakeland Volunteers in Medicine, and Community Emergency Response Teams, provide services that our residents rely on every day. These programs are stronger because of you, our volunteers who consistently show up and make a difference. One of the reasons our volunteer program is so successful is because we all work together. Polk County staff, our residents, and community organizations are united in a shared goal, and that goal is improving the quality of life for everyone who calls Polk County home. So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, our county manager and his office, county staff, and the countless lives our volunteers have impacted, I want to personally thank each and every one of you here tonight. You represent the very best of Polk County. Your service strengthens our community, it inspires others to serve, and creates a legacy that will last far beyond tonight's celebration. So thank you, God bless you all, and God bless Polk County.
Initially, my day starts, I'm a dual chaplain, so when I'm done with my full-time job, I volunteer for Polk County Fire Rescue, and I cover the area in Polk County called Battalion 5. And so I go to the stations over at the least 9 times a month, and I visit each station, see how the guys are doing, see if the crews are there. And I just go and I just spend time with them. I go and I sit down with them, and if I'm aware if they've had any high acuity calls, I'll sit down and see if they need to decompress and kind of, talk that out and to help them get through any difficult situation they may have had, which I actually had one last month, and it was a pretty touching situation with an infant, and so it really affected the staff and the crew, and I was able to be there for them. I followed up with them after they had gone out and came back and spent some time with them and let them decompress. Really feel gratification from it. I have the grace to be able to go and spend time with them. I really have it as my calling, and that's what motivates me to just spend time with them and to serve those who serve our community and to make sure that they're okay. So, I really care about that. It was great to see so many people get recognized and to be in such a large event. I didn't have any idea that so many people would be here, and it was very welcoming. I'm very humbled by being a part of it and being recognized. Never would have thought, that this would be something that someone would acknowledge. Like I said before, because it's something that I do from my heart as a calling. And to be recognized, it helps me to understand, how special it is and what an impact is being made on those crews and families and the community. Is really exciting for me.
It is an absolute privilege to be here with you tonight. I am so impressed with the turnout. There are many of you that are familiar faces. There are even more that I have not had the opportunity to meet until tonight. but I feel a sense of kindred spirit with all of you, because as volunteers, there are many common attributes that volunteers bring to the work site, to the home, out into the community. And already, I know that I'm among folks that have a great deal of compassion, people that have a tremendous heart to give back, people that are motivated by that compassion to step out in action in one way or another to help to improve their neighborhood, their community, those that we run in contact with every day, and frankly, many that we only get to see once in a while, some that we may never see again. But we have that common sense of wanting to give back. I've rarely run into a volunteer site where people were negative, were depressed, were upset, unless, of course, the work wasn't being done properly. But there's always a sense of positivity around a group of volunteers. And for that, I thank you. And I also want to just say, we talked about quality of life, you referenced quality of life. What an asset you all are to this community that we call home. In the world in which we live today, there are lots of reasons to be down. There are lots of reasons to be negative and to close ourselves off from our neighbors. And each of us here gathered are living testimonies to the fact that that's not how we have to live. And in fact, there is another way that can be much more positive and much more life-affirming. So thank you all for that. There are some general characteristics that have been shared over the years that I'm going to share a few of maybe the lesser-known quotes peppered in with my own personal experiences. One of the first that struck me as unusual, and hopefully you'll relate to, from Robert Orban: "Here's to all volunteers, those dedicated people who believe in all work and no pay." Volunteers don't get paid not because they're worthless, but because they're priceless. And from Martin Luther King: "Everybody can be great, because anybody can serve." You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. And from an unknown source: "Volunteers are love in motion." Some of you may be familiar with 1 Corinthians 13. "Love is patient and kind. It is not jealous, boastful, proud, rude, or self-seeking. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres." These are the qualities that we embody here tonight. And what a better place it is for all of us that we are here together. At the same time as we share a lot of those common attributes, everyone here has a unique skill, gift, that is particular to you. Pablo Picasso said that the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Some of you may know of Leo Biscaglia. "Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around." Indeed, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Helping one person might not change the world, but it could change the world for that one person. In addition to our individual attributes and the common attributes that we share, I think as volunteers, we also have a responsibility to share the spirit of volunteerism with the next generation. As Bill mentioned earlier, we live in a very generous volunteer spirit community, but it would be short-sighted of us to think that that's in the water or that's in our DNA. It's just going to continue because of where we live. It's important that each of us intentionally try to plant the seeds of volunteerism in the next generation in order for that to continue on for years to come. Part of that is simply captured in this one little phrase: seeing leads to compassion, and compassion leads to action. So when we volunteer, if we invite others to join us, it is in their seeing that their eyes will be open to compassion. And as they are able to experience that in our own community, in our own backyard, identify the needs that are right here at home, they too will be motivated towards action. And that's how each of us can continue to keep this cycle of generosity moving forward. On a personal note, when I think about what motivated me, what inspired me to volunteer in a variety of different capacities, my mother comes to mind first and foremost. And she's passed away almost 10 years now. And I never know when this is going to happen, because when I mention her, sometimes I get choked up. So I'll apologize in advance. But the story of my mom is one that could have gone either way. And I'll share that briefly. My parents divorced when I was 12, and at that time, she became a single mother of 3 young boys. Within a few years, my brothers and I moved out and left Mom by herself for the first time in her life. She continued living alone in that house for another 35 years. She worked as an elementary school teacher for 32 years before retiring in her late 60s. In her early 70s, she developed stomach cancer and was given 6 months to live. After surviving 12 months of treatment, she later developed lung cancer and had to have portions of both lungs surgically removed. On one fateful day at the age of 91, my mom was taken to the ER with symptoms of a heart attack. She decided then to turn over the keys to her car and move into an assisted living facility. She passed away there at the age of 94. Now, this might sound like the makings of a rather sad and lonely existence. But for my mom, post-retirement were some of the most joyful and meaningful years of her life. Motivated by her deep faith and a servant's heart, my mom was actively engaged in more than a dozen professional, social, and church groups. She volunteered with the Retired Teachers Association. She played tennis and golf and was volunteer in multiple church activities, including bringing communion to the old people in nursing homes. She told me that most of the people she visited were younger than her, so when I asked why she referred to them as old people, she quickly replied, "Well, because they're living in a nursing home." Her small acts of kindness brought joy to many. So much so that when we planned a surprise party for her 90th birthday, 125 people came from all over Pinellas County to celebrate her life of humble service. Additionally, her sudden need for assistance after living in her own home all those years was what led me to volunteer at Volunteers in Service to the Elderly. What a privilege it is. What a privilege it is for me now to oversee an organization that is a manifestation of this community's care, compassion, generosity, and volunteer spirit that exists nowhere else on the planet. Today, volunteers in service to the elderly assist almost 5,000 seniors from 70 years of age to 106, with the sole mission of helping them to remain safely and independently in their own homes. I cannot think of a more tangible way to improve the quality of life than to help seniors to remain in the comfort of their own home. And engaging volunteers in that process allows us to also increase the quality of life in our circle. For many, this brings purpose and meaning to their volunteer effort in a way that nothing else can. My mom understood intuitively that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. It was also her life of service that motivated me to become more engaged in my own community through volunteerism and public service. What a legacy. So, 2 questions for you tonight. What is your gift? What is what they would call today your superpower? And are you putting it to good use? I would say for my mom, even faced in the worst adversities of her life, her superpowers were optimism and joy. I don't know about you, but I think those are both in pretty short supply these days, and we could use a little more. So what's your superpower? If you don't know, turn to the people around you, ask them what it is. I'm sure they'll tell you. And secondly, are you setting an example for others, especially young people, so that the spirit of volunteerism continues to be cultivated and nurtured in our community for generations to come? Let's remember the words of that famous philosopher, Dr. Seuss. Unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Thank you.
The volunteers are important to the county because they offer an extension of the services that the county can provide. They really draw a connection with the community, and it's just real tangible assets to what we do as a county for our residents. That turns into over $2.1 million of work provided to the county by our volunteers, as well as our community emergency response teams. It varies from our public service, public safety, all the way down to our recreational. That involvement tells us a lot about those individuals, but it also tells us how much they care about our community, how they want to get involved and make Polk County a better place. So that kind of community spirit really makes Polk County stronger, more connected, and ultimately it makes it more resilient by having these volunteers provide this service to our county.